Now, I keep harping on the fact that government owns the media. Let's prove that. Here's CBS Corporation, Class B stocks, with 3.5 million shares. There's Discovery Communications Incorporated, with about 160,000 shares. There's Dish Network with 475,000 shares, as well as its competitor DirecTV with a little over 2 million shares. There's Walt Disney Company, the owner of ABC, with a little less than 8 million shares and a market value of $144 million. Note here that there's also Walmart shares and, as stated earlier, Walmart de Mexico. Here's the Washington Post, Class B stocks, 22,000 shares. There's Warner Music Corporation with 16.7 thousand shares, Time Warner Incorporated with 4.8 million shares, and of course Time Warner Cable. There's THQ, which is a video game maker. There's Electronic Arts Incorporated at 1.1 million shares, the largest independent video game maker in the world. How about the News Corporation? We have 7.7 million Class A shares at a market value of $51 million. And of course, there's Nintendo with almost 400,000 shares. Note here the massive investments in Nike. There's Viacom Incorporated, Class B, with 2,363,000 shares. Marvel Entertainment with 175,000 shares. Here's DreamWorks Animation at 285,000 shares. Also, here's Lionsgate Entertainment Corporation with 180,000 shares. Loews Corporation, the theater company, at 1.2 million shares. Cinemark Holdings Incorporated, another theater company, at 373,000 shares. Note here the Citigroup Incorporated shares of 18.6 million. Here's New York Times Company, Class A shares, and Netgear Incorporated, maker of internet equipment. And of course, Netflix Incorporated, where all of these movies are being digitally transferred so that they're available to you at the click of a button. Not this movie, of course. And here's Google Incorporated, 974,000 Class A shares and a market value of $339 million. And of course, Google is YouTube and is collecting all of your personal information, with a little help from a company named Microsoft. And then there's Apple. Note here Goldman Sachs Group with over 10 million shares. Also, here's Vivendi Universal, as in Universal Studios, 2.4 million shares at a market value of $63.8 million. There's Virgin Media, 280,000 shares. Sony Corporation and Sony Financial Holdings with 811,000 shares and a market value of about $16.4 million. And finally, there's General Electric Company with 39,551,000 shares and a market value of $400 million. Of course, General Electric owns NBC and Telemundo, Universal Pictures, Focus Features, 26 television stations in the United States, and the cable networks MSNBC, Bravo, and the Sci-Fi Channel. GE owns about 80% of NBC Universal. Now you'd think that a big company like that's gotta be paying a lot of taxes. Must be in the billions. Oh, but didn't you hear? General Electric paid no federal taxes in 2010. In this ABC News article dated March 25, 2011, it states, "For those unaccustomed to the loopholes and shelters of the corporate tax code, GE's success at avoiding taxes is nothing short of extraordinary. The company, led by Immelt, the CEO, earned $14.2 billion in profits in 2010, but it paid not a penny in taxes, because the bulk of those profits, some $9 billion, were offshore. In fact, GE got a $3.2 billion tax benefit." Now, who could possibly allow this to happen? Surely the government wants to get taxes from a massive company like General Electric. Oh, but wait a minute. Wouldn't it be better just to own the company outright? collect the dividends on the stock holdings, create a tax-free environment for your company to conduct business with, and then hide that ownership over various government investment funds. Brilliant. This is the story of the Fortune 500 and other corporations, both national and international. Government owns it all. Government is in the worst kind of conflict of interest, passing laws that directly influence the corporations that it holds major or ownership stock investments in, thus creating a tax loophole that allows more profit for the main corporation, United States Incorporated. It's simple, really, when you think about it. This melding of corporate interests with government interests can answer just about any question you have about the U.S. and the world economy. Let's take a look at some of the investments that perhaps a government shouldn't have. Here we see 234,830 shares in Diebold Incorporated. Diebold is the company that makes the voting machines for which the citizens vote on. Now, in an effort to define what a conflict of interest really is, let's ask the question: should the government have major or controlling stock investment in the company that makes the machines that the people vote for government on? Now, before you answer that, remember, these machines are riggable, meaning that the outcomes of votes can be changed. Also remember that Congress is not allowed to see the top secret programming of these machines. Here's 2,280,000 shares of Monsanto Company. So again, let's consider: should a government have massive or controlling stock interest in a company such as Monsanto, where the government is offering patents for life forms that are created by that very company, where the Supreme Court rules in favor of Monsanto for the patenting of these life forms? Now, this is the same government court system that is passing judgment on whether Monsanto can sue farmers for using their seeds without even knowing it. This is government control of a company that is taking over the seed and agricultural markets of the world. Is that a conflict of interest? Here's over 4 million shares of Nestle, the company that brings you tap water in the form of bottled water. And as we mentioned earlier, what happens to that bottled water when it gets discovered that false advertising or toxic levels are introduced? Well, it goes to the dollar store. Here's about 427,000 shares in the Dollar Tree Incorporated. And here's Big Lots Incorporated, another store to unload damaged or unwanted products, at 662,000 shares. And we mustn't forget the 159.3 thousand shares in 99-cent only stores. Let's talk about how government, through its investment-held companies, fools you into brand recognition and predictive programming. A good example is the bottled water industry. Most bottled water is bottled from public water sources, which are pre-fluoridated before these water companies ever get their hands on it. The filtration methods these companies use are not sufficient to get this toxin out of the water before it is bottled. Some even add fluoride after filtration for health reasons. Of course, no one ever asks, if fluoride is good for your teeth, why are you swallowing it? Spring water is from about as fresh of a source as your toilet bowl, and you thought your dog had bad taste. Most of the bottled water brands were created or bought by big corporations and labeled in a way to fool you into thinking they are independent companies. Many of these brands have been sued and lost, forcing them to label the true water source of their product. Some end up in discount stores or at the local dollar stores, and they are there for a good reason. Buy these at your own peril. Stop being a sheep, read the labels, and look at the source. The following is a list of some of the more popular water brands and the mega corporations who produce them. Notice that most of these brands are in fact made by the three largest beverage companies, the Nestle Corporation, the Coca-Cola Company, and the PepsiCo Corporation. With our ridiculous snobbery, we actually prefer Perrier over San Pellegrino, despite the fact that they're made by the same corporation, the Nestle Corporation. In fact, the only bottled water with a true brand name is the Nestle brand. So which bottled water do you drink? Are you feeling suckered? A victim of clever advertising, perhaps? Well, once again, we have government and its investment-held corporations to blame.